Thank you, Rita. Very good evening. Welcome to Friday's Look North. Well, we have some breaking news tonight. Fire crews are back at Marsden Moor tackling what they describe as a fast-spreading blaze. It's the 8th fire in the area this year. We will look at the impact the dry weather is having. Also tonight, calls for the COVID public inquiry to look into a multi-million-pound PPE deal involving a Leeds-based company.
Here at sun-drenched Headingley, not only are Yorkshire just about to get going against Worcester in the T20 Blast, but there's breaking news. The county have signed up to the Muslim Athlete Charter. On the programme tonight, we'll hear from Yorkshire captain Shan Masood.
And Sheffield band the Arctic Monkeys are back in the city for an open-air gig. The excitement is building.
And we look set fair for the first heat wave of the season so far. The potential for the odd thunderstorm, but temperatures are going to climb sharply. Join me for that weekend forecast.
Thank you for joining us. Friday's come around again, and we've got a busy one for you tonight on the programme because we're starting with some breaking news. We are getting reports that fire services are back tackling another blaze on the moors above Marsden. We've received some pictures from a reporter at the scene. This is the 8th fire so far this year in the area. Firefighters from across West Yorkshire are on the scene near Butterley Reservoir. That's high on the hills above Marsden. The blaze currently measures around 200 square metres, but the fire service have told us it is growing quickly. Over the last 4 months alone, 3 square kilometres of moorland in West Yorkshire have been destroyed by fire. Well, Paul joins me now. Paul, I was only up there 2 weeks ago when they were dealing with the 6th fire. The ground was dry then. It's even drier now, isn't it? What's going on?
Well, it's been incredibly dry across the Marsden area of West Yorkshire. There was very little rain in May. In fact, they've not had any measurable rain for 4 weeks, and we've had a lot of sunshine and we've had a breeze from the east. I've got a forecast that was issued only 2 days ago from the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasting. And if you have a look at that graphic now that should be on your screen, you just see those deep colours there. That is the highest risk zone.
And we're right in the middle of that.
We're right in the middle of that. That's the whole Pennine chain. And this computer takes into consideration ground moisture, how dry the vegetation is, how sunny it's been, and more importantly, what the forecast is over the coming days. And of course, as I'll tell you later in the programme, there's going to be a heat wave. And I think, you know, the fire authorities are really concerned about what might develop over the coming days.
I know what you mean. I went out for a walk at lunchtime. It is already hot. You've got to feel for the firefighters working in those conditions.
Well, definitely, but it's prolonged sunshine as well. There might be the odd thunderstorm up there, but we're looking at probably 7 or 8 days of dry weather, sunny weather, and temperatures up at Marsden could be up to 28 degrees, so it's not a good combination.
Thank you for your expertise, Paul. More from you later on in the programme, of course, and we do have a reporter on their way up there. As soon as we get some pictures from them, we will let you know. Meanwhile, our second story tonight, the government's handling of the COVID crisis will be under the microscope next week as a public inquiry begins. A Yorkshire MP is calling for them to look into a deal that saw Leeds-based Clipper Logistics distribute PPE around the country for the NHS. Its owner and one of the region's richest businessmen has told the BBC there was no link between him making financial donations to the Conservative Party and his company subsequently being involved in a government COVID contract worth over £100 million. The government said the contract was awarded in line with the procurement regulations. However, Labour have said there should be further scrutiny into who the government awarded contracts to. David Rhodes has this exclusive report.
They're not getting enough protective clothing.
They're not providing them with the equipment they need.
Many workers are still finding it hard to get hold of.
It was the first crisis of the pandemic. Staff ran out of personal protective equipment known as PPE.
I certainly wouldn't want to be sending my doctors and nurses into somebody's home with inadequate PPE.
In this moment of national crisis, the army was brought in first to deliver PPE around the country. But the army didn't have the required expertise. The government turned to Clipper Logistics, a company renowned for moving stock for some of the country's biggest retailers around the country. Clipper was founded by Leeds-born businessman Stephen Parkin, a former coal miner. His business would go on to sponsor Leeds United, and he once named a horse -15 after the club was docked points by the league.
So he's bred to be a winner, so hopefully with a bit fingers crossed we can win a few races with him.
Public records show that Clipper Logistics was part of a subcontract worth over £130 million of public money to distribute PPE during the pandemic. Electoral Commission records show that in the years before the pandemic, Stephen Parkin made donations to the Conservative Party worth over £700,000.
So, Madam Deputy Speaker, let's turn to the numbers.
In Parliament, the Labour Party have for months called for greater clarity on the links between private business and the government during the pandemic.
£3.5 billion. That's the value in pounds of contracts given to the Tory party's mates that we know of.
In a rare public statement, a spokesperson for Mr Parkin told the BBC any attempt to portray the personal donation by Mr Parkin to the Conservative Party as a contributing factor to Clipper being asked to undertake PPE distribution during the pandemic is a gross distortion of the truth and completely incorrect. It is a fact that Mr Parkin was not involved in the award of the subcontract to Clipper in any way, nor, as far as we are aware, were any government ministers. When the government hands out public contracts, it's meant to go through what is known as a tendering process. This allows other companies to bid to do that work. It has been established at the start of the pandemic amidst a national emergency. That didn't happen. When we asked the government whether any other company apart from Clipper Logistics was considered to distribute PPE, we were told these contracts were awarded in line with procurement regulations and the details have been made public. However, Mr Parkin's spokesperson said that the government had approached other companies as well as Clipper, but that Clipper was the only logistics provider able to get a solution up and running within the required timeframe. It was operational in 4 days.
That underpin the terms of reference of this inquiry.
Next week, the first public evidence hearings will be held in the UK's public inquiry into the pandemic.
We know that there's question over the Clipper contract, and Baroness Hallett must be able to look at that contract, like all the other contracts, drill down into how the money flows before and after, and ensure that there is real rigour in what the government did.
PPE was vital during the pandemic, and it will be central to the story the public inquiry will tell in the months to come. David Rhodes, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Thank you, David. And you can see a special programme about the beginning of the COVID inquiry on Politics North. That's this Sunday morning, 10 o'clock here on BBC One. Well, I believe now we can go back to our top story and a breaking news that an 8th blaze has broken out on Marsden Moor this tea time. Our reporter Nicola Rees has just got there. Nicola, I know that you've got to get your bearings, but what can you tell us at the moment?
Yeah, this is as close as we can get to the fire at the moment. We're on the other side of the valley, just above Butterley Reservoir. We know just over an hour ago it was covering 200 square metres, but we were advised that that was spreading rapidly, not helped by the windy and very hot, dry conditions. Now, there's been a huge emergency response. The nearby villages are full of specialist vehicles. There's an all-terrain vehicle out on the moor, and crews are using blowers, they're using beaters, they're using hoses, trying everything they can to bring this blaze under control, but they're not helped by these conditions. And it is highly unusual to have so many fires in such a short period of time in the same area. We've had that confirmed from the fire service that at least 2 previous fires are being investigated as arson. We don't yet know the cause of this latest one, but it's having as well a huge impact on biodiversity in the area. A lot of warnings from the National Trust, animals affected and really precious peat soils too. So this could well be a really serious situation for Marsden Moor.
Nicola, thank you very much indeed. That's our reporter Nicola Rees and camera operator Rob Smith, first with the news for Look North this evening. Now you're watching Friday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme.
We're the Arctic Numpties, coming to watch Arctic Monkeys live at Hillsborough Park in Sheffield. Catch us later on BBC Look North. Well, I bet that you look good on the dance floor.
More singing to come on the programme, but first let's take a look at some news stories coming into us here at Look North. 5 animal rights activists have denied a charge over a protest at Doncaster Racecourse. 3 women and 2 men in their 20s and 30s were charged after supporters of the Animal Rising campaign group disrupted a horse racing event on May the 6th. The defendants pleaded not guilty to intentionally or recklessly causing a public nuisance. They are expected to stand trial in March next year. The Grade 2 listed George Hotel in Huddersfield is being partly demolished. The building is famous for being the birthplace of rugby league in 1895, but it dates back to the 1850s. The demolition work will make way for 91 new rooms when it reopens as part of a hotel chain in 2024. Now, we've got a wonderful story for you now about a married couple from Leeds. Ijaz Hussain was born with no hands or feet. His wife, Nusrat, has been his carer for more than 18 years. He says she's wonderful, and now she's been nominated for the BBC Local Radio Make a Difference Awards, which celebrate the people who go above and beyond in our local communities. Kaja Rizvi has been to meet them.
Who's that handsome guy?
Nusrat and Ijaz have been married 18 years, and their love story is unlike any other.
I was born without hands and feet. Nusrat married me knowing full well, you know, what she's getting herself into. Basically, she's sent from heaven.
Nusrat helps Ijaz with everyday tasks like washing his face and feeding him.
I explained to him that he is my husband and you don't need to feel bad. I will help you whether it's night or day. Whenever you need me, I will be there.
People without hands and feet, they don't get married, they don't have kids, they don't have a job. She's wonderful. There's no words to describe her.
And why did you decide to marry him and therefore become his carer?
I look after him because he is my husband. I love looking after him, and that's why I do it. God has given me the opportunity to look after him.
When we first got married, I used to think she could do so much better than me. I kept saying to her, "Oh, do you love me? Do you love me?" But after a bit, I began to realise that, you know what, she must love me because she's here.
Ijaz wanted Nusrat to get the recognition she deserved and nominated her for a BBC Local Radio Make a Difference Award.
She needs to be honoured on that kind of big stage, you know. And when I saw the carer, I thought, I know the person. There's only one person. For the first 25 years of my life, I was just existence. She's the love of my life, and you know, it's easy to say that, but I really honestly mean that. You know, without her, I'd be lost.
I really like looking after him. If I was born again, he is still the only man I would marry.
Khadija Rizvi, BBC Look North.
What a wonderful story. Let's go on to sport now. Lots going on at Yorkshire County Cricket Club these days. Good news on and off the field at last. Paul Ogden is there for us tonight. Afternoon, Paul.
Not many places you'd rather be than Headingley on a wonderful Yorkshire summer's night. T20 action, Yorkshire batting first against Worcester. They are 18 for 1. David Millan's still at the crease and just getting warmed up. We're going to speak to this gentleman shortly, Darren Gough, Managing Director of Cricket here at Yorkshire. Before we get into that, though, there's something else very important happened at Headingley today, which is that Yorkshire have formally signed the Muslim Athlete Charter, overseen, as you can see, amongst other people, by captain and Pakistan international Sham Masood. That's a very strong gesture of commitment by the county to recognise the needs of Muslim cricketers, of course, fans and staff within the game, part of the wider focus on delivering equality and diversity at all levels of cricket as promised.
The club has suffered a lot from what's gone in the past, and now the focus is on the cricket, getting the cricket aspect right, making sure Yorkshire is a county that's, whether it's a workplace, whether it's a place to play cricket, it's inclusive for everyone, and making sure we're picking the best people from around the country, from around the world that come here to represent Yorkshire, and once they do, it's a family.
Another David Millan boundary while you were listening to Sham Masood, 22 for 1 Yorkshire. Here's a subject we don't talk about enough these days here at Headingley, cricket. Darren, explain to us, this is a rotter of a question, why Yorkshire's County Championship season start has been so different than the T20 at this stage.
Well, to be fair, actually, we played some good cricket. We've just had bad sessions. The Leicester game, we dominated for 3 days and lost the game. But then we went and lost momentum because we didn't play then for 10 days because of a washed out game. Came back strong against Sussex. Rain stopped us winning that game. We got lucky against Glamorgan with rain. And then if we would have won 2 of those games, you go into Durham with confidence. Lack of confidence, but we played some good cricket in between some bad cricket. In the one-day stuff, we got off to a bad start, but momentum takes place. We've won 4 in 4, and the players are in a good place. We've just got to try and keep that momentum going now.
These days, Darren, all of our attention spans are shorter. I blame social media myself. Are the players, do they prioritise T20 one day? Has it begun to overshadow the longer form of the game?
Well, the financial part of cricket is obviously T20 and the 100, the financial advantages of those competitions. But I can assure you at this county, especially, Yorkshire's got a terrific tradition of winning championship cricket. And that's what the players have got in their mind. They obviously love this game. It's a bit of a, it has more, let's say, the bigger crowds, a younger audience, and players want to impress. When you get in front of a crowd, that's what happens. It lifts your performance, and like I said, players are playing for some big contracts around the world at this moment in time.
I can still feel your enthusiasm for it, and that's great to see. Carry on. Your excellent work, and have a good night here against Worcester. We'll talk to you again on Look North at the next opportunity. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Let me tell you finally for the moment about the Speedway. Great news. Great performance from the Sheffield Tigers last night, who were in real control of their Knockout Cup semi-final after a great performance in the first leg against Wolverhampton last night. They won by 54 points to 36. The return leg is a week on Monday. The final, if they get to it, later in September against either Peterborough or Ipswich. And we'll keep you posted later on. Yorkshire 26-1 here against Worcester Rapids.
Thanks, Paul. I think that was a school draw between Paul and the public address system there. Staying with sport, and it's day 2 of the elite competition at the Bramham Horse Trials. It's one of the key events in the 3-day eventing calendar, with big names like Zara Tindall competing, and this year Olympic rider Nicola Wilson has returned to the show for the first time since a spine and neck injury in May last year. She's unable to compete, but has found a new outlet for her talents and experience, as Sally Hurst reports.
The chatter of crowds, the hum of competition and the thud of hooves on grass. Everything that makes Bramham special and everything that Nicola Wilson has missed since her accident.
It's absolutely fantastic, in the glorious park that Bramham is, in this beautiful sunshine, and to be able to, be here this week is truly amazing and a wonderful feeling.
It's hard to believe it's only a year since Nicola fell from her horse whilst competing at badminton, badly injuring her neck and spine. Her recovery is ongoing and she's still adjusting to a new way of life.
Everything's just more difficult. My hands are probably the worst affected at the moment. So every day, like writing or using the knife and fork correctly, just the list goes on. But I very much try and focus on what I can do and not what I can't, and hopefully what I can't will slowly start to get less and less.
Have you tried riding again since the accident?
No, I haven't. I'll never ride at this level again because I physically won't be able to. So I now move on into the next chapter. I've always enjoyed coaching. I always hoped that I would move into that once my competition career finished. And I think this naturally leads on to that. And I'm really enjoying working with the riders that I am working with, and hopefully putting my experiences into good practice in supporting and helping guide them.
Coaching others to reach the top level of competition. And Bramham does attract equestrian royalty. Zara Tindall competing in dressage today, with Bramham a key date in her competition diary.
It's a huge sort of stepping stone in the year, and when you're educating horses, have younger horses coming up, it's a great one to aim for, and really educates them. And when you've got a good horse when you come around here, and the competition's always incredible. We're so lucky to be here in Bramham Park. It's such a phenomenal place.
Tomorrow, the cross-country and show jumping begins. Nicola Wilson will be watching this year instead of competing, but she's still very much part of the Bramham family.
I've always been, a competitor, and yes, I was the one that was riding and training the horse, but you are very much part of a team, and now that whole team feeling is moving into a different area. I feel very fortunate to have lovely people, and the sport is an amazing, grounded sport, really. People appreciate the highs and the lows.
Sally Hurst, BBC Look North, Bramham.
Thanks, Sally, rubbing shoulders with royalty. Now, if this wasn't a busy enough edition of Look North already, it's time to utter the phrase, cue the mermaid. As the latest Disney blockbuster, The Little Mermaid, gets everyone thinking about what's under the sea, one environmental campaigner from Yorkshire has created a unique way of highlighting what's littering our waters. Helen Hill from Be the Future has created a mermaid costume out of plastic rubbish, including hundreds of bottles, old toys and even a broken tent on there somewhere. And Helen joins us now, modelling your creation, which looks absolutely spectacular. It looks fun. Where did you get all the plastic then? Is it from the beach? Where is it from?
Yeah, it's from a mixture of sources. So some of it's from litter picks and working with companies who collect plastics as well to reclaim them and put them to better use and recycle them when they've been told beforehand that they weren't previously recyclable. People are doing really good work in proving that wrong, and they've helped contribute as well. And family, my housing estate, all kinds of sources, yeah.
It is a talking point, and I guess that's the whole idea, isn't it?
Yes.
What do you want people to take away from this?
So what we aim to do at Be the Future is we want to really unleash the power of families and educators to teach the kids about the climate crisis through fun, through storytelling, through play, lots of humour. And so we are trying to basically live what we're preaching. We are having a bit of fun with raising the awareness and creating something that's beautiful, but actually when people look at it, they realise, actually, this is 6 kilograms of plastic.
Goodness.
And that's just one. Well, 42 of this tail would end up in the sea every second, the equivalent of that.
I can see bottles, I can see bottle tops.
Yep.
We talked about you finding a tent as well. What else have you got on there?
So we've got lots of packaging, so things like bubble wrap and packaging that's come from things like deliveries that have come to the house. We've got carrier bags, so a lot of this is melted carrier bags and the bottle labels in there as well. We've got my blister packs from medicine on here. And yeah, right down to the bottom there is all the green bits are bits of the tent and things as well, and a ground sheet. So
any plans to get more mermaids to join? I don't know what the collective noun is. The flock of mermaids to spread the word.
Yeah. So my business partner Sally is doing the same in Australia. So she's been on Bondi Beach in her. She's got the more glamorous part, you know. But yes, we're doing it together to raise awareness both across Australia and the UK. And it's all part of a launch for our Kickstarter next week, where we're going to really. We're launching an edutainment kit to help families and educators with this, because we've had over a third of parents have told us that they want to teach their kids about the climate, but they haven't got the tools to do so. So we're really trying to just help them do that and show them that you can have fun.
Thank you very much indeed. We will let you swim back off into the ocean like the green dolphin, green mermaid you are. Thank you very much indeed. I'm just not quite sure what to make of you. Thank you.
I don't think I do.
Now, from mermaids to the homecoming gig, where are you, over there, that Sheffield has been waiting for. Tonight, the Arctic Monkeys are performing the first of 2 massive outdoor shows at Hillsborough Park. They are promoting their 7th album and getting ready to headline Glastonbury Festival later this month. Corinne Wheatley has been chatting to some very excited fans.
For the first time in nearly 5 years, Arctic Monkeys are playing for the home crowd.
We got married in November, so we're like, since then we've been looking forward to this. So there's a bit of a present for both of us then. So
this is a belated wedding present,
sort
really.
Of, yeah.
Ready for their much anticipated return, fans from around the world were queuing from early morning, even though the gates didn't open until 4. And where have you come from for the gig?
From Israel. We're married, we're from Los Angeles, so she got here first and then I got coffee and came and joined her.
I'm a long-time fan. I thought like Sheffield would be, you know, the best place to see them. It's got to be special.
I don't know how it would speak to us living in America, but it kind of did anyway. Just, you know, they're growing up and just, you know, the story that they were telling their music.
While fans have been waiting for the band to return to the Steel City, tribute act Arctic Numpties have done their best to fill the void.
What are you expecting tonight from the atmosphere and from the reaction from the crowd?
I think it'll be an absolutely biblical night, to be honest. I think the atmosphere, like when we saw them in Coventry last week, was really good. But even we, on the day, we were like, I think Hillsborough's going to be a different beast. I think just because of where it is, and I think, like I said before, everybody is that excited for it.
It's the best homework in the world, watching gigs on YouTube or coming to see them live in person. We sit there, oh, they're doing this on stage, we need to try that, and then a week later in rehearsal, should we try that little bit they did last Saturday or whatever.
This month is also the 20th anniversary of Arctic Monkeys' first ever gig, meaning they've been playing longer than some very dedicated fans in this queue have been alive. testament to their enduring appeal.
I wanna grab both your shoulders and shake, baby, snap out of it.
Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North at Hillsborough Park in Sheffield.
Oh, if you are going to that this weekend, have a fantastic one. It is going to be brilliant. And now someone who always looks good on the dance floor.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, 1 or 2 thunderstorms, perhaps, in South Yorkshire.
Should they pack wellies or sunscreen for that gig?
Definitely sunscreen.
Okay.
They're just going to be hit and miss. But if you're a walker, Tom, I've got 2 pictures
Look at that.
for you, for the audience. Now, of
I'm
course,
loving that.
That's Mam Tor, a beautiful, subtle climb there, and it looks like a fabulous weekend. But the second one is from the top of Yorkshire's biggest peak. That's Whernside, of course. Let's have a look at that's Ingleborough.
Yes.
Anybody who's done this, that's Pennygent in the distance with that 12-mile walk. And then you go all the way up Whernside, 26 miles.
I think I can see Ribblehead Viaduct, can't I?
You can indeed. So what a weekend to do that, and what a weekend to be out and about, because it looks as though it's going to be absolutely fantastic. If you've got any pictures, if you're doing the 3 peaks perhaps, or climbing Mam Tor, send them to me, Twitter, Instagram, or on the Weather Watcher website. So the technical definition of a heat wave is 3 consecutive days of 25 degrees or more. So we are heading into the first heat wave of summer. There is a chance of an isolated thunderstorm, but this extraordinary dry spell looks set to continue for most of us through the weekend and through much of next week too. Because this weather front that's coming up from the Bay of Biscay just gives up. High pressure comes across, and apart from, as I say, 1 or 2 thunderstorms over the next couple of days, it looks dry. And we're pulling up this warm air from France and Spain, so you will notice just how much warmer it feels in the next 24 to 48 hours. And the cloud has almost gone along the coast as well. So let's hear it for the coast that's been plagued by cloud all week. A fabulous weekend to come here. But we've got some low cloud just to come in for a time overnight, some mistiness perhaps over the hills, nowhere near as extensive as it has been, and we'll see temperatures coming in to around about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow's high water times along a sunny coast. I've not said that for a while. Scarborough 9:43, Bridlington at 3 minutes past 10. So a bit of a misty start in places, some low cloud. If there is any mid-morning, it's gone, and then it's just sunny all the way, apart from, look, just a risk. This is a risk only of 1 or 2 thunderstorms coming across South and possibly West Yorkshire, but the risk is no more than 20%. So most of us will stay dry. And look at these temperatures, 19 today. We're 8 above that in Sheffield and in Leeds, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. And check this out if you like sunny weather, if you like warm weather, and that says heat wave by the technical definition. That's the forecast.
Paul Hudson promises a lot. Thank you very much indeed. Phew, that's been a busy programme. I feel I need to go and have a rub down with a damp copy of the Radio Times. Other listings magazines are available, of course. We are going to spend some time hoovering up parts of Mermaid Tale. Amanda's here with your late bulletin from your Friday crew. Good night.